analysis of the defense after spring?
A lot of good. I know we're further ahead this year than last year with the scheme. We are filling some holes. We lost two really good corners in Cam Garrett, Eddie Heckard. We lost a good linebacker in AJ Vong Pachong, some good D linemen, Jackson Cravens and Nice Mahe. So we're filling some holes. I like how guys have stepped up. We've been able to, I don't want to say rest, but some of our veteran guys that we know we can win with had good springs, got the work done that they needed to, but then we kind of were looking to fill some depth. So I think we've accomplished what we needed to, and it's good to move on to the next phase of the year.
How different is this defense from 15 practices ago as it's developed through here in spring?
Yeah, so I really like where certain players have got, like Jacob Robinson playing at a super high level. I love where Jack Kelly's at right now. I've seen some safeties step up, and it's probably unfair to just point out a few guys, but those guys have really stepped up, and I see a big increase in just leadership this year over last year. I see more ownership in that the players have a better expectation of what we want as coaches. So overall, I like where we're heading, and I like the progress we've made.
We've seen you shuffling defensive backs, particularly that slot corner spot. Is that just an effort to get guys cross-trained, or is it you looking at different options there?
No, we're looking at options. We're we're trying to still find the best guys at each spot. Some injuries have made it so we've done some shuffling, and then also, like I say, I don't need to get certain guys a lot of reps because I know we can win with certain guys. So it's just making sure that we're finding the right pieces for the right place.
Is Tyler Batty a guy that can, maybe even contend for the sack leaders in the Big 12?
Oh yeah, for sure. Love where Tyler's at. He didn't do a lot of work this spring just because we know what he's all about. But I like where he's at. I like his mentality. He's faster and stronger than ever right now, and he's got the ability to be a great player.
Can you give us a hint on the safeties depth chart, how that breaks out coming out of spring?
Well, I can tell you right now there's been a ton of guys that have played last year or that are playing well right now. I like where Alfrey played this year, this spring, Talon Alfrey. Tommy Prasis has raised a big eyebrow right now. He's playing well. And then Tanner Wall looks healthy again. He's playing good. Ethan Slade. Bottom line, there's a lot of guys. We get Micah Harper. He didn't play all spring, so it's going to continue to be a big battle come fall camp in that group.
You brought up Harper, Bywater,
my hero.
Mark Collins. Do you expect those guys and Siale Acera back for fall camp ready to go?
Yes, we do. Micah, Siale, Tanner Wall, all those guys that were not taking reps in the spring, we expect to have those guys back.
What about Ephraim, too? Will he be ready?
Ephraim will be back for sure.
Did you have any season-ending injuries out of spring?
There's some guys that might linger into the first part of camp, but we should have them all back. The one that's hairy, Bywater, he's just, progressing with his injury, but he's still a little wait and see on exactly when we get him back.
Do you like the depth at linebacker if the case of Bywater is delayed on starting in fall camp?
We do. There's been a lot of progression there. I think Coach Enna's done a phenomenal job with that group, and there's been some young guys stepping up into that role. That's what spring ball was for, and we still have 29 practices in fall camp to continue to get those guys better.
You're still getting some D linemen later. Is that depth chart there pretty much in flux?
Well, no. So the one thing right now with the way recruiting went last year, we feel some of our best players are still to join us, and it's going to create a lot more competition. But if you're recruiting the right way, that's how it's always going to be. There's always going to be competition coming in. It's the starters' jobs to hold on to their job and play great, and it's the backups' job to beat them out. So we're looking forward to some increased competition with those guys coming in.
Do you expect attrition coming out of spring from the personnel, like guys leaving, or do you feel like you're going to retain most of these guys?
No, I think most of them will stay. There'll be some guys that want to move on so that they can play more or something like that. But I think the majority of our guys will stay, and then we got to do a great job of fighting to keep our players that we know we can win with, keeping them here. But I don't see a lot of attrition here at BYU. There's too many reasons to stay.
Do you have positions of interest for you in the transfer portal potentially?
None that we have to take right now. I know the offense has mentioned maybe some things that they might do. Nothing we have to take, but we won't turn down a difference maker if the right guy pops in.
there's pro day going on right now in Dallas. Can you talk about some of your former players, especially like an Eddie Hecker? Do you think he has a shot to make an NFL roster? And Cam Garrett ran a really fast 40.
So I'm glad you asked that. So I love those guys. Those guys down at pro days, some really great players. I heard Cam did great down there. Eddie is coming off a foot injury, so he was only able to bench, but he'll be as strong as any DB in the country. So I think both those guys can play. If they get the right opportunity, those guys can play. AJ Vongpachong had a really good senior year. I hope he gets his opportunity. Jackson Cravens, Nice Amahe, Max Tooley, all those guys, given the right situation, can play. I hope they get the opportunity. I do believe that in the right situation, those guys can all make rosters.
Jay, I know you were doing a lot this year to try and build on what you started last year, but how are you going to evolve second year in the Big 12 as far as play calling, scheme, things like that? Like, how do you view your own personal growth?
So I love that. I think the familiarity with the offenses is going to help. I think situational football, knowing play callers, will only get better in the Big 12. My trust in the players and making sure we're executing what is called is going to go up. And I believe this too, the confidence they have in me will only make us more productive. So I think as a whole, we should take a huge stride forward. I just compared it a little bit, and I know it's different, but I compared it a little bit to the first years at Weber State. It kind of feels the same way. Like, first year wasn't quite what we wanted, and then the next year's got better and better and better and better. I see that same future here.
Coach, how much, first off, tell me exactly, does this quote sound familiar to you here? Competence leads to minor accomplishments leads to confidence, which leads to major accomplishments. Does that sound familiar to you?
Well, and I think that's what we just talked about. It does. And that's the process, right? That's the process we're heading on. And I do believe this. You're going to see some major accomplishments out of this football program for the next couple of years to come. It's only going to get better and better.
How busy is the calendar going to look for you and the staff with spring evaluation period and then summer official visits? How big of a piece is that for you guys in the offseason?
Well, they keep changing these rules on us right now. So spring recruiting has drastically changed the rules that we just did. The transfer portal has changed things drastically. NIL changes things. So the reality is you got to be able to change with the times, and you got to be able to adjust. And if you can't, you'll get left behind. And I think that's one thing Kalani does a great job of reiterating to us coaches is we got to be able to change with the times. And I think BYU's really done a great job from the administration side, from the program side of helping us do that.
How do you what do you guys need to do over the next 4 months to be ready for fall?
Well, we got to continue to get bigger and stronger for sure. That's a critical part of summer conditioning. We got to continue to get better ownership of the defense because right now we're not there yet. We did take steps forward, but we're not where I want us to be. And I don't know that we're ever going to be exactly where I want to be, but we're heading in the right direction. But for us to, compete for the Big 12 title, we got to continue to take big steps forward.
Is the pass rush going to generate sacks this year?
It has to. It has to. And for as much as we blitzed last year, we do need to generate more sacks. I will say this, in the Big 12, quarterbacks did a phenomenal job last year of getting the ball out of their hands. And most of the teams did not give up a lot of sacks last year because they get the ball out of their hand well. And so it's both. You got to give credit to the opponent, and we got to be better at getting pressure on the quarterback.